Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation on the final detailed designs for Talbot Grove House and Morland House. My name is Peter Ingalls. I'm the Senior Project Manager at the Lancaster West Neighbourhood Team, and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video discussing the refurbishment of Morland House and Talbot Grove House. And we're recording the meeting this evening so that we can put it on the neighbourhood team's communication channels. So let me do a quick introduction to the Lancaster West neighbourhood team working on the external refurbishment of your blocks. Many of you have met James Caspel, our neighbourhood director, and also here today from the neighbourhood team, we've got Janet Hall, who's the Heat Network Stakeholder Engagement Manager. We have Irona Tishanika, who's our Assistant Project Manager, and Abhijit Kumar, who's another Assistant Project Manager. We've also got Peter Brown, who's working with specifically with the leaseholders on the project. I'll pass to Robert Johnson, who's our associate lead from Ryder Levitt Bucknell team, to introduce the consultant team.
Hi there, I'm Rob Johnson. I'm associate for RLB. We're the consultant on the project. I'm here with Tom Lee, our assistant project manager. We are working with AEW as our lead architects. We're also working with WSP as our structural engineers, TACE as NP engineers. They are the engineers across the estate as well. Ross.
Yeah, hi all, my name's Ross Huntingdon. I'm an Associate Director and Architect at AEW Architects. I'm joined here by my colleague Danny. Danny, over to you. Danny, you're on mute.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny Lomax and I'm an architect at AEW working on this project with Ross and the Ryder Levitt Bucknell team.
Great. And you can see on the slide here some of our other team members who are working with us to make sure that the work that is being done is done to the highest standards. And we also have members of our engagement team here who you may know. We've got Harry on the call, Harry Hewitt, who's part of Linda's team, working directly with you, and they will be available to answer any questions that you have about the team. They're always available. You can contact them. Okay, so we're going to go through the overview of what we've previously talked to residents about, to just do a recap of where we've got to, and then the team here are going to go through in a little bit of detail the design that's been developed, with some options that we're asking the residents to input into. You know your blocks better than anyone else, and some of the questions that we're asking because nobody knows how the blocks work on a day-to-day basis better than you. So we really value your input into this. So please, we value all the comments that we're asking you to give back on the presentation here today. So I'll hand over to James, who is going to just talk a little bit about the journey that we've come on so far.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you to all the residents watching our webinar today, and especially those of you who have already participated in the co-design journey so far for Morland House and Talbot Grove House. So this is the final stage where we are finalising the detailed design. So in many ways, we've worked with residents to make some of the most important decisions, which we're going to remind you of in a moment in terms of the type of windows, what type of wall insulation we're looking at, so on and so forth. And to date, 76% of all residents, that includes resident leaseholders and temporary accommodation residents as well, in both blocks have participated in phase 1 and phase 2. So just as a reminder, in terms of the story so far, following the Grenfell Tower tragedy, some very high-level ideas days were held back in early 2018. As a result of that, the ideas books were published. They very much asked residents, what would a 21st century model estate look like? And in the months after that, we started to deliver our internal refurbishment programme. We've co-designed a local lettings plan. And so we were very keen not to wait until we had final designs before we started to ensure that residents benefited from some of the improvements that we were able to provide. We do, though, have a finite pot of funding, and therefore we worked in 2019-2020 to co-design the top 10s. We did that for Morland House and Talbot Grove House separately, recognising very different lived experiences for residents, and to provide that sort of granularity and ensure that we didn't take a one-size-fits-all approach. Following that, a range of different engagement opportunities transcended the pandemic and ensured that we were able to get initial design ideas discussed, start to identify emerging preferences and choices. And that's seen a range of different engagement methods, from webinars to paper surveys to door knocking to drop-ins and so on. And it's great to see so many residents engaging, as they did a couple of days ago at the drop-in for the final detailed design stage. So where we are at the moment is finalising those detailed designs. There are some options that we're going to provide, so there's still an opportunity for residents just to confirm they're happy with the intended plan. There are some choices, certainly in terms of the aesthetics of the outside of the building. And what we're looking to do is to work with our partner consultants and architects to finalise those designs so that we can get planning permission. We need planning permission before we can commence any of the work. And we'll be doing that alongside bringing on board partner contractors who will be delivering the actual works to Morland House and Talbot Grove House. And we'll engage you in that process as we always have done. In terms of some of the work that's going on at the moment, Talbot Grove House is imminently going to have its video door entry system installed. Morland House is penciled in to be next. And we have also had quite a strong focus on the internal refurbishment. And to date, over half of all residents across Lancaster West Estate, half of all tenants, I should say, have had their internal refurbishment undertaken. So ultimately, this is a key milestone in finalising the detailed co-design that's going to effectively inform the delivery of a 21st century model estate. We're going to move on now to a short video that's going to remind all of us what you told us in phase 2, which is where we gathered your emerging preferences and choices. So Abhijit, if you could start the VT. Thank you, Apogee. So you're going to hear more about how you can complete the survey if you haven't so far. Thank you to all those residents who have completed their phase 3 survey so far. I'm going to hand over to Peter now, who's going to talk in a little bit more detail about some of those fantastic CGI images that you saw and what they're made up of. Peter.
Thanks, James. So these are just the recap before I hand over to the architects to show how they've taken these on. But what you told us in the previous consultation was that you really valued the look and feel, the character of your homes, and given the choices of how we might put insulation onto this building, you were very clear that matching the existing brick facade was part of that. So that's what's been taken on, and the architects will explain a little bit about. There's some detail around that in some of the areas of the building where there are some opportunities to refine that exactly, but I'll let them talk about that a little bit more. You were really keen that the windows were, again, you valued the sash windows that were in the building, certainly on the main floors of the building, and sash windows with triple glazing are products that we've been working very hard to find manufacturers that can do that and can do them to modern standards. So that's something that the architects have taken forward, but it will be getting the products we're finding will get very, very good thermal performance, comfort. They'll be a million miles away from the single glazed windows that have been sold. Probably look great, but they've got lots of problems with condensation. The triple glazed windows will deal with that while maintaining the look and the feel and functionality of your current windows. And very important when we're sealing up the facade to stop the drafts coming in for thermal comfort is making sure that everybody has very, very good quality of air in the buildings. We hear more and more about air quality and its effect on, or positive effect on health. The mechanical ventilation with heat recovery, which you'll also hear talked about as MVHR, is a really fantastic, very low cost ventilation system where the cost of running that ventilation system is minimal, but the savings on heating, because it's as well as giving you fresh air, is also saving on wasted heat. It really is a significant benefit, but because it's also filtered air through the MVHR unit, the air is cleaned of the pollutants from outside. So in terms of the freshness of the air in the building, it's better than even opening windows. But of course, you can still open your windows. And residents were keen on that from before. So to kind of hand over to the sort of level of detail now that the architects have gone to, and to kind of explain some of the choices we're asking you to make. I'm going to hand this over now to Ross and Danny to take you through those details.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Hi everyone, hope you're all well. As Peter mentioned, my name's Ross. I'm an architect. I work with RLB and the rest of the team. We've got the exciting job of bringing forward these nice CGIs that you can see on the screen here into real life to really improve your home. So we're just going to talk over the few extra design decisions that we're able to offer to you in this final point. Just to summarize what those are, we've got some options on what we do with bricks. We've got some different types of dormer window options to show you. We've got some railing and drain pipe colour options for your consideration. And we've also got some pretty exciting options for how we can deal with the internal stair cores. But as part of that, over the next few slides, I also want to recap on what the proposals are and really why we're doing them. So without further ado, if we could go on to the next slide, please. So this shows Morland House from the front, as if you were looking down at it from high up. It's worth noting that the principles that are noted on this slide apply to all the buildings. That's both Morland and Talbot Grove House, and I'll just touch on these now. We're going to wrap your homes in a new external wall insulation to keep you nice and warm and to reduce your bills. And this is going to be applied to all the walls and the roofs. And to ensure that the buildings maintain the same traditional style that we know that you all quite rightly love, we're going to add a thin layer of brick slip so that the finish still has the same texture, look and feel as the masonry that you've currently got. As Peter just touched on there, we're going to be adding high performance triple glazing. You've got some lovely big windows here. They let in a lot of light. We want to ensure you keep these, but in a way that doesn't cause condensation or freezing windows and drafts. And then we're going to be installing a new heating system, which is going to clarify your air. It's going to circulate it, pushing warm air into areas where it's going to be needed. And it's going to eliminate any issues with damp and give you nice clean air to breathe every day. And then we're going to be looking at improving the walkways and dealing with the water ingress issues. So the next slide, please. Going straight into it with the first design option. This is a design option for the courtyard, the internal courtyard of Talbot Grove House. As part of the earlier decisions, you'd pick the red brick slip and the London yellow brick slip, which are a very close match to what you currently have there. And we now like you to consider how you want the courtyard to be finished. We do it either in red, so it matches the ends of the building, as you can see on the left, or we do it in the London yellow to match the front of the building, as you can see on the image on the right. In this option, the windows receive a red brick finish to both the top and the bottoms of the windows. So that's the first design option. Next slide, please. It was decided as part of phase 2 that there was a preference to have white timber framed windows in a sash style, which can be seen here as a reminder. It's important to emphasize that we still work to provide you with that. As Pete says, it's been quite tricky, but we will be providing you with these. They're going to be high performing triple glaze windows. They're going to have a white external frame and a matching white interior frame. And the diagram in the top right of the picture shows where these are going to sit. The grey bits shows your existing walls, and the yellow shows the new insulation with brick slip and how the window interfaces with that. Next slide, please. So on to the next design option, which is particularly relevant for those of you that have a dormer window living on both the top floors of Talbot and Morland House. We've got two options available for you. The reason for this difference between the dormer windows and the other windows is that dormer windows are not sash windows. So we want to maintain its look as existing. So we had to do something a little bit different here. So option 1 is a tilt and turn window. The other option, the option on the right, is a side opening window. There's quite a lot of information at the bottom, but basically, hopefully you can see that they're both very good at keeping heat in and keeping sound out, and they can both be cleaned from the inside. Next slide, please. So this is quite a complex diagram, but effectively what we're trying to show here is the detail of the external wall insulation, which incidentally was a preferred option by 80% of you. The reason for this is it improves the ability to maintain heat for your home. There's no reason for you to leave your home whilst work's ongoing, and there's no loss of space internally. It's also going to freshen up the way your building looks. We're going to use a very thin layer of high performing insulation along the walkways, so minimal space is lost. We're going to recoup any of that lost space by pushing out the railings slightly, which will be replaced in a like for like either black or slate grey style, which I'll discuss shortly. And as mentioned before, all your windows are going to be replaced with high performing triple glaze units, and we're going to take care of the leaks in your walkways with a new anti-slip covering. Next slide, please. In a few of the flats, and it's only those next to Pomery Court, we may have to explore a small section of internal wall insulation. If this does include you, you will have already been informed by the Lancs West neighbourhood team. Next slide, please. So, as part of the renovation works, we would like your opinion on the external treatment of the railings and drain pipes, and have proposed a couple of options here. On the left, we show black drain pipes and railings. And option 2, which is on the right, we show the same image, but we show how the downpipes and railings would look if they were painted in slate grey. Next slide, please. As part of the improvements, we're also going to renovate the internal stair cores with additional insulation and 3 options of finishes. For the residents that live next to these stair cores, this will also reduce any heat loss in your home along that adjoining wall. And the proposed finishes are as follows, starting on your left. Option 1, this is a ceramic tile finish. It's going to be smooth and shiny and is proposed to be in white and green colours. In the middle, we've got a brick slip finish, which will be rough and buff. It'll be done in the same red and yellow colours of the rest of the building. And then option 3 on the right is a bit of a mix of the 2 previous options, with a rough yellow brick slip finish at the bottom and a smooth white tile at the top. We're also going to be sorting out the staircases and making them safe with anti-slip inserts and metal nosings for visual contrast, as you can see in the far right image there. Next slide, please. And as part of the proposed works, we're also going to be adding extra insulation to your roofs of the buildings, which gives us the opportunity to have a consideration as to how they might look. Again, we have a red option where the roof is finished in red plain tiles with matching red dormers. And at the bottom, we then have a grey option where the roof is finished in grey slate and grey dormers to match. So that brings me to the end of the options. We really do look forward to receiving your opinion and driving the next stages of development. Now it's back over to Peter. Thank you.
Thanks, Ross. One of the other things that we want to consult residents on is about the final detailed design of how we can improve the existing waste and recycling strategy. That currently, as you'll know, that we have a situation where we have some recycling bins which are positioned at the end of the blocks, and we have the general waste bin with a bin chute, which has been problematic over the years. There's been some work done to it to improve its fire performance, but it's made it a very small aperture, which is some of the feedback we've had from residents into that bin chute. What we're asking people is, how do we help you improve the situation so it becomes easier to deal with waste recycling for you, for the modern way that we deal with waste, as we have less and less residual waste because more and more of the waste is recycled. How do we rethink about how it's best to position the bins for you around the blocks so that they are not eyesores, but are elements that are pleasant and safe and convenient for you to use. The team here have been looking at positions where recycling centres can go, and they're shown on the plan at the side there. They largely are in positions where the bins currently are, but one proposal is to keep them within shelters so that they're more discreet, and also they're covered for convenience when separating food waste from recycling, and potentially from general waste as well. So we've sort of, on the next slide, we've suggested there's sort of 3 detailed options in here, and it's really to get your input into, you know, what works best for you. The first option is to look at custom-built dedicated bin enclosures close to the entrances. And this would be for, we should hide the bins away completely in enclosures like this, and taking the bins out from the block entirely, so that we can have all of the waste separation in one place. So this would involve closing the bin chutes, closing the bin stores at the bottom of the chutes, and putting all the bin storage in one place behind designed, but it may be like this, there may be another design, but within a kind of designed area close to the entrances. What that was helpful is it's helpful because it improves the ongoing fire safety in the buildings, because we take the bin chute out, which no matter what we do to it, no matter how well we maintain it, it remains a potential hazard into the future, as well as something which is an ongoing maintenance issues. It helps to improve the separation of the refuse. It allows you to use larger bin liners, so we're not constrained by the small apertures that we've got into the existing chute. And taking all of the bins into one place, away from the current store, but still close by, frees up that store at the bottom for something else. It could be, for example, a secure cycle storage at the base of the bin chute. Of course, that means that there'll be slightly more, well, there'll be more travel distances. The convenience of the chute goes, but it's no different for the majority of the waste, as the minority of the waste just now goes down the bin chute. It's no different from most of the waste that you're currently putting in the bins, the recycling bins and the food waste bins on site. Another option, a similar option, again, removing the bin chute, but retaining the store at the bottom of the chute for either general waste or for food waste, means that we can have some of the bins in the same position they're in at the moment, and we would put the other ones in these other locations. Very similar to how they're arranged at the moment, but again, in a more aesthetically pleasing container, covered container, or an enclosure, rather than the bins just being loose on the street. That makes some of the bins closer than the others. Possibly it doesn't encourage the separation as well, because you have to remember which one you go to separate what type of waste into which bin. The third option that's on there is if the feedback of residents is around finding a way to retain the bin chutes. The reality is we would need to rebuild them. We need to rebuild them for a couple of reasons. One of them is to ensure that the fire safety is maintained into the future, but also because we are bringing the new heating pipes into the building. A proposal that would be the simplest proposal that keeps the look exactly as it is at the moment would be to use the old bin chutes to take the heating pipes up the facade of the building. If we need to do both, and it would mean rebuilding that brickwork chute to accommodate both a new bin chute and new pipes. The cost of that is obviously higher, and that is one concern when we've got a finite pot. It means savings have to be made elsewhere, but it's also about ongoing costs. It's about a higher maintenance cost of looking after these bin chutes, and also as we really are trying to transition as an estate to a zero carbon estate, and part of that strategy will be greater and greater recycling into the future. It's worth discussing and thinking about, is retaining the current way that waste is separated really appropriate for the 21st century? We don't have a clear answer to that, and that's why we're asking you about it here. Next slide. As James has said already, a part of the works will be to provide a new video door entry system, and the good news is that this is being implemented ahead of the main works. So that's something that will be happening earlier in the new year, where there will be better security on the blocks. Firstly, to have a working system on the front doors, but also so that you've got you can see who you're letting in through the lit screens that will be inside everybody's front doors. As James has said, the internal refurbishment, the programme of that is somewhat different from the works of the insulation and the windows, and that a lot of that works could happen ahead of the main works happening, and that we have to date been refurbishing the flats to a very, very high standard. As they become vacant, we've been going in and doing the renovations in the flat, and nearly half of the homes have had some or all of the internal refurb done already. This is something that will continue over the coming year before the main works start, and we will be engaging with residents about individually in the flats about when that can happen, and what your specific needs are around that, to do with what work can be done when you're in the flat and what work you may need to move out to allow us to do. But we will be giving you lots of notice and consulting individually on that. We understand, of course, for leaseholders that there are the works are being given to you within a package, and there are specific issues related to that my colleague Peter Brown will go into in a little bit of detail as well. And I'll hand over now to Janet Hall, who will talk a little bit about what's happening with the heat network update.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining. Since we last spoke about the heat network, there's been a few changes and a lot of progress made in that we now have 2 contractors appointed, preferred contractors appointed. So Synergist will be delivering the heat network within people's homes, and so that means that any home that hasn't been upgraded, hasn't been refurbished already, will get a new plumbing system installed by Synergist. And Vital will be looking after the pipe network throughout the estate. They'll be replacing the pipes that provide communal heating to homes. There is an exception to that. There has unfortunately been some major issues with the heating in Morland House over the last few weeks, which many people will be impacted by. And Synergist will be replacing the network pipes that connect Morland House. So that's work that we've brought forward from the main package of work. So it's actually the first step of heat network delivery is happening for your block, and it means that we won't need to go back and do that work at a later date. So that is hopefully some good news for people. So on screen you'll see the designs for our renewable boiler room on the left and the warm water store on the right. We've had a really great architect called Tonkin Liu involved in leading the resident co-design of these 2 buildings. We've used kind of lots of nature-inspired artwork that's actually been produced by residents and taken in your feedback through 2 co-design events held in about the last year. And this is the designs that they have come up with. So on the left, we kind of have the floating island concept, and on the right, we're calling this the energy tree. If we move to the next slide. And so most importantly, let's look at what will actually be installed in people's homes as part of the heat replacements that are going to happen across the estate and in Morland House and Talbot Grove House. So There will be a heat interface unit installed, which is the second picture along. This is about the same size as a gas boiler. It doesn't have anything kind of heated up inside it. It receives hot water from the heat network and it heats up the radiators and the liquid that runs through your radiators. So it's a very, very safe and clean technology. And it gives you a lot more control than residents currently have. So heat will be supplied 365 days a year, and you will be able to turn it on, off, and set the temperature as you desire using a thermostat, which will also be installed, and new radiators and pipes as well, which will also give you more levels of control than you currently have. And on the left-hand side, this picture shows a heat meter, which will actually be installed within the heat interface unit. So one of the important aspects of the heat network replacement is that you will only pay for heat that you use rather than a share of the heat that's used by everyone in your block. So that's going to give you kind of a very different use of your heat. Next slide. So this is the resident price promise, and it is set until 2030. And essentially, we have designed this price promise with residents to make sure that those who are moving over to renewable energy are not paying more than those that are on gas. So there are three aspects to the price promise. The first one is that the refurbishment of your home could reduce your heating needs by around 25%. So we hope that that's going to deliver on much much more affordable kind of heat. And then with the new heating controls, you'll only be able to pay for the renewable heat you use. So like I said, you won't be paying for the whole block. You'll only pay for what's used in your home. And then finally, the price promise will mean that you pay no more than gas until 2030. So we are capping the price of the heat network to the gas price per kilowatt hour until 2030. Next slide. So a bit more information about how the payments will work. And there's been lots of questions about this, and it is different depending on whether you're a leaseholder or whether you're a tenant. So for leaseholders, you will see a usage charge and a standing charge, which is similar to what you would see on an electricity bill or a gas bill. So that would be a daily charge that's paid depending on the size of your flat. And then finally, there are maintenance charges, which would be similar to what you're already paying in your service charge. For tenants, there will only be a usage charge that will be received as a separate bill. So that's slightly different from what's already happening, currently happening, where the usage charge is included in your rent. The standing charge and maintenance charge costs won't be seen necessarily by tenants because that's actually included within your rent already. Next slide, please. And I'm handing back to the chair.
Thanks, Janet. And one thing to mention to everybody on the gas is that we have an ongoing goodbye to gas programme, and households, including leaseholders who wish to say goodbye to the gas cooking, we will help you to do that. And there's we will replace your gas hob with an electric hob free of charge as part of that, and that you can request that now if you want to. The sooner we say goodbye to gas and the sooner we stop burning things, then the closer we get to the carbon neutral state that we all want. So this is time for you as residents to have your say in the final detailed design, to allow our architects to proceed to produce the final construction drawings for the contractor. And you will receive a copy of the survey in your post. Thank you to those who came on Monday and filled the survey in or took the survey away. You can return the surveys to the reception at baseline, or you can place them in the silver survey boxes outside the entrance at Talbot Grove in the middle block. There's an online survey. If you've signed up to the e-newsletter, you get a link to the online survey. And if you haven't, you can also access the online survey by scanning this QR code here, also shared in social media, and the booklets, the posters, and newsletters that are coming out. Or you can text us, and the numbers there on the slide. You know, I can tell you a little bit more about the e-newsletter for residents of Lancaster West Estate. It's a really great way to keep up to date with all the refurbishment news on the estate and on your block. So you can scan the QR code here or follow the link in the chat. And we can put that also in the comments when we upload this video. And there are posters up all over the place on the notice boards in the estate with that QR code as well. Or you can find it on Instagram at Lancaster West Neighbourhood Team. When you subscribe, please indicate which blocks you live in so we can send you updates for your block. And that's particularly important if you don't want to miss out on the refurb news that's specific to the block that you live in. So thanks to everybody for watching this all the way through. We are this recording, wherever you're finding it, you can always still find it. It can go up on our website at www.wearew11.org and on the app, which again you can download from the App Store. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and we really look forward and really value your comments. So please send them to us over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.